Hello, I'm Jay Fishman, conductor of the Minnesota Sinfonia, and in a few moments you will see my friends and my colleagues, the musicians of the Sinfonia. And our program today is about the relationship between math and music and how we as musicians really need our math to make good music. Okay, so let's start with some basics. Counting. When we think in terms of music, we think in terms of notes. But before we can think in terms of notes, let's talk about apples. Apples, you say? Yep. Here I have a whole apple, right? Now, we all know that we can divide an apple in half. So let's do that. It's a fresh apple. Okay, so we have two halves, right? This is one half, and I'm going to divide this half again. So we're going to have, boy, that's a tough apple, isn't it? So we're going to have 2 quarters. Let's take this half, and we're going to divide this as well. And, oh boy, here's another quarter. And, uh-oh, we have a visitor. I didn't realize this before. Look at this. My goodness, he's a big one, isn't he? Or maybe it's a she, I don't know. Anybody know what this is? How many of you are going, ew, it's a worm? Well, you're wrong. It's a snack for later on. Okay, you get the idea, right? So the apples give us an idea of how we can divide and such, and let's show how that relates to music. If you look over here, we have what we call a whole note. Notice it's round and it's open in the middle. And if you look at that, think of that as a whole apple. Now let's divide that whole note into 2. And as you can see, we have then 2 half notes. And they look like whole notes. They're open in the middle, but they have a stem. Now each half note we can divide into quarter notes. So for each half note we can have 2 quarter notes. And as you see, the only difference here is that the quarter note is filled in. It still has a stem. Let's go one more. We can divide a quarter note into 1/8 notes. How many 1/8 notes in a quarter do you think? 2, you're right, and you can see. And you have a flag. And if you notice the picture, we've grouped 2 1/8 notes together. Instead of flags, we just have a bar across. It's easier to read that way. Okay, so now you have the idea of how we can combine math and music. Let's have the orchestra play those so we can figure it out. But before we do that, before we play, before we practice, the orchestra has to do something. What is it? Anybody know? Just yell it out. You know, I can't hear you. Let's do this. I'll give you a hint. It starts with a T. Now anybody? You know, I still can't hear you. Let's put a second hint. T-U. So tune. That's it. Right. So I'm going to ask our concertmaster, our leader, Julia, to stand up. She's going to look over to our oboe player, to Sarah. She's going to wave her bow, which becomes a magic wand. And Sarah's going to give us an A, and we can all tune. Let's have the orchestra play a whole note first. So I'm going to ask Corey, our percussionist, just to bang out counting, bang, bang. And then the orchestra is going to play a whole note, and you'll notice it's exactly 4 counts. Now I'm going to ask Corey to bang out the beats again, and the orchestra is going to play half notes. So 2 beats per note, and they're each going to be on different pitches so you can hear them. Corey? Okay, I think you know where we're going. We're now going to do what? Quarter notes, right? Corey? Let's do one more. We're going to do 1/8 notes. And you notice how exact everything is. So, Corey? Good. So, before we move on, just so you can hear this, right? Every note is in its proper place. This is math. We can't have an 1/8 note being too long or too short, or a half note being too short or too long. It has to be precise. That's math as well.